Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to objectively map out the specific arguments, narratives, and rhetorical strategies used in a recent, highly charged political commentary video from the channel Behind the Line. Now, we are absolutely not here to debate the politics. Instead, we're going to break down the actual anatomy of a modern online grievance. We'll look at exactly how content creators structure their arguments to capture your attention and build a really compelling narrative.
Right out of the gate, the creator establishes a massive foundational worldview. The source material begins with a really bold premise. America is militarily and economically invincible. The creator argues that the nation's military is the most tactical in the world and its economy is uniquely strong. By establishing this idea of an impenetrable fortress, the video sets up its core thesis, which is that internal sabotage is the country's only true vulnerability. This perfectly primes the viewer to start looking inward for an enemy. To make sense of this sprawling commentary, we've broken it down into 5 distinct themes: the threat from within, escalating political violence, the disease of politics, contrasting eras of immigration, and finally, escaping the outrage algorithm. Let's get right into it.
Starting things off with Section 1, the threat from within.
So, who exactly is this internal enemy? Well, to unmask the culprits behind this decay, the source uses some highly specific, pretty derogatory language. They explicitly point to what they call woke white women and doofus Democrats, frequently referring to them as the party of the donkey. By using these emotionally charged monikers over and over, the creator pins the blame for America's problems squarely on a specific political faction, asserting that this group has a lifelong dream of destroying the country. It's a classic rhetorical technique, right? Simplify a really complex national landscape by giving the audience a clearly defined antagonist to focus on.
But, abstract political enemies aren't always enough to keep a viewer engaged. And that brings us to this number. To ground this grand political grievance in everyday reality, the creator shares a personal story about his wife's $600 weekly grocery bill. They talk about the old days of struggling to put 2 gallons of gas in their car before payday. By framing current inflation as a direct consequence of this internal threat, the video literally connects global political theories right to your wallet. It validates real-world financial frustrations and channels all that energy straight toward that political antagonist we just talked about.
Moving on to Section 2, escalating political violence.
Now, the narrative shifts from economic pain to physical safety. The crucial point here is how the video draws a very direct line between the rhetoric of the political left and specific, real-world acts of violence. The creator builds a timeline starting with the July 2024 incident in Butler, Pennsylvania, moving to a situation involving Charlie Kirk, and culminating in the recent shooting at the Hilton Hotel during the White House Correspondents Dinner. The argument being made is that political violence has basically become normalized, and the source attributes this escalation directly to left-wing podcasters and politicians making threats against people they disagree with.
To really cement this connection, the creator dives into the specific details of the suspected Hilton Hotel shooter, Cole Allen. When discussing the suspect, they explicitly focus on the fact that Allen listed he/him pronouns on his professional LinkedIn profile. In the context of this video, that's definitely not just a throwaway detail. The creator is using it as a rhetorical tool to tie the violence directly back to progressive cultural norms, implying that adopting those identifiers is somehow linked to the motivations behind the attack.
Then, the creator juxtaposes that hotel shooting with a quote from a CNN clip broadcast right before the event, where a commentator suggested that Donald Trump figuratively wants journalism dead. The source argues that the mainstream media is actively churning out nonstop propaganda that normalizes extreme action. By putting a media quote literally side by side with the physical shooting, the video is attempting to prove that left-wing media narratives are the direct catalyst for real-world violence.
Which brings us to Section 3, the disease of politics.
To find the root cause of all this tension, the creator vividly illustrates a sense of nostalgia for an era when political leanings were just polite, private information, rather than a mandatory public identity. They share a really compelling personal story about asking their dad whether he voted for Al Gore or George Bush. The dad's response? He just said it was rude to ask someone about their politics. The video contrasts that past standard of privacy with today's climate, where politics feels inescapable. It's an incredibly effective way to make the viewer yearn for a simpler, less divided time.
Because, according to the source, this disease of politics has now aggressively infected all of these everyday cultural touchstones. Whether you're watching sports, checking out a movie, listening to music, or even going to church, the creator argues you just cannot escape the friction anymore. They even point out that on forums meant for discussing TV shows, people are arguing over racism, misogyny, and fake fascism. The argument here is that this total saturation of politics in daily life is exactly what drives ordinary people toward radicalization.
Let's shift gears a bit for Section 4, Contrasting Eras of Immigration.
Applying this whole narrative of internal decay to immigration, the creator constructs a really stark dichotomy. They argue that immigrants from the 1940s through the 1960s, who were primarily European and Mexican, and largely Christian or Catholic, integrated super smoothly into American culture. They describe them as hardworking folks who quietly assimilated. But in sharp contrast, the video claims that modern immigrants are coming from, and this is their phrase, third world dumps. The claim is that they're getting immediate financial assistance and, crucially, refusing to assimilate. Instead, the creator asserts these modern groups want to dominate American culture and are being intentionally used by Democrats to hold on to political power.
Because the source views this modern wave of immigration as an absolute existential threat, they explicitly express support for some pretty extreme government interventions. The video highlights and praises legislation introduced by Representative Chip Roy, which aims to ban or deport non-citizens aligned with communism, socialism, or Islamism. The creator actually admits that they normally oppose government intervention on First Amendment grounds, but they argue society is now way past the point where tolerance is acceptable. This is a massive shift, where the rhetoric moves from just airing grievances to actually endorsing ideological purges.
Finally, we hit Section 5, Escaping the Outrage Algorithm. After laying out this sprawling case about internal sabotage, we reach a really surprising pivot. Instead of offering a political action or a voting strategy to fight these grievances, the source turns the lens directly back onto the audience. The creator actively mocks people who brag about needing therapy 5 days a week and blames their misery on their own addiction to screens and online political outrage. It's a fascinating rhetorical turn. After spending 10 minutes outlining exactly why you should be angry and terrified, the creator chastises you for actually being consumed by it.
The final call to action is intensely personal and purely physical. To cure the disease of politics, they urge the audience to literally log off and do these real-world activities. Pick up a golf club, play pickleball, get a shovel and garden, or read a Bible. The core message is that the digital world is a trap designed to make you miserable, and the only true escape is retreating to tangible, analog hobbies.
And that leaves us with a final, fascinating question about the deep irony of this source material. The creator ends by telling their audience to stop spending all their time behind a screen feeding an algorithm designed to keep them angry. Yet, they deliver this message at the very end of a highly partisan, anger-inducing online video designed to trigger that exact algorithmic engagement. So does watching a 10-minute video of political grievances trap you in the exact cycle of anger the creator is telling you to escape? It's a real paradox of modern political media. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time as we continue to break down the information shaping our world.